everybody. I'm joined today with Tracy Keogh. Uh, there's some new billboards out.
There is indeed, yes, yep. We're aiming to have 12 up and running. At the moment, I think we're at 7. So it's a process of waiting for the billboard company to approve the artwork.
Mm-hmm.
And as you can see, it's a little uh, outside of the normal type of artwork, I guess they would usually get from
Mm-hmm.
brands and things like that. So far, very happy with this. I think it's 7 or 8 that are live and have been approved. So we're aiming to get to 12, 13.
Yep. Well, the
Yeah.
billboard location that I went to, that I took the photo at, it's a well-trafficked area.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. And that's the same area you took one for us last year, wasn't it?
Same
Yeah.
location. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was so excited to wake to that this morning because Mark had told me that some of the billboards had gone live, and I thought, well, I don't want to share it with all of the supporters until we have an actual picture of it. So when I woke to that, I was like, oh, this is just awesome. This is awesome. So thank you very
No problem.
much. Yeah,
My pleasure.
yeah,
It's right up the street from my house, so it wasn't even
yeah.
out the way.
Yeah, fantastic. So yeah, hopefully it causes people to pause. That's the whole idea of it,
Mm-hmm.
um, is to get people to pause, particularly the missing child. Um, and I was just speaking to somebody on Twitter before. The whole idea, the ideation behind these boards came to me after watching The Lost Boys, which is one of my favorite ever films, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the children are on the milk cartons, the missing kids and the missing people, and
Mm-hmm.
just that idea of Brendan has really been missing since he was a child
You're
from
right.
home. Yeah, so that's kind of where it came from.
The good thing about that location where the billboard is, there's actually construction going on, so it's most of the time it's rush hour traffic all the time, so
Fantastic.
people
And
are
if there's
going to see it.
construction too, yeah, maybe people have to slow down just a little bit. Their attention will get drawn to the billboard.
Hmm.
If we drive one person, two people to bringbrendanhome.org, we're doing our job.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a document supposed to be filed in Stephen's appeal. I seen supposed to be on the
Remitter.
28th.
Yes, I have no idea what that is. Do you?
I have to look into it a little bit, but basically, let's see if I can bring it up here. Uh, it's too small for me to read on my phone. Remediator.
Yeah.
So,
And I don't think Kathleen has tweeted anything to that, has she?
well, it says it's a procedure under which a court may order the reduction of an excessive verdict, especially a procedure in which the court requires the plaintiff to remit the portion of the verdict deemed excessive in lieu of grant of a defendant's motion for a new trial or a reversal if the court is an appellate court.
Hmm. I'm out. I'm
Yeah,
out. I'm,
I've been trying to
I'm
get a
out.
hold of Travis because he's probably the one
Yeah.
to be able to help me.
Yeah, because when I initially saw that, I thought if that was something of importance, then surely Kathleen Zellner would have spoke to it through Twitter, to let people know that there was something else
Hmm.
of possibility. So yeah, yeah, not for me. Over there.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah,
Uh, it's just a tragedy what they did to Brendan Dassey
yeah,
and Steven twice.
yeah, yeah. It's almost unthinkable, isn't it? It's that whole idea of it. How is it possible? How does the system fail in so many ways to do that to a child, a vulnerable child?
Mhm.
When you have things like the American Disabilities Act and all those type of things, nothing was used to protect Brendan. And with Stephen, the twice, to be wrongfully convicted twice, like that's a system with a lot of issues. And the
Mhm.
idea that people who are involved in the system are okay with that, with those outcomes, uh, I spoke and I've interviewed Professor Michelle Levine a couple of times. She's one of the co-authors of Under the Hood, the
Mhm.
analysis that was done on Brendan's speech and language impairments. And she said that when she first watched Making a Murderer, and in particular Brendan's interrogations, she wondered how she was going to go into the class, because she's a professor of law, and speak to her students and say, when you go out there, you're going to go and fight the good fight. She goes, I can't do that because
Mhm.
the system's broken. It's like it it's lying to students that they're going to be able to make change in a way.
Mhm.
So it must be very difficult for people who are
It's
trying to
just
fight against it.
it's a shame that the jury didn't get to see the whole interrogation,
Yeah,
especially the last portion where Barb comes in the room and he
yeah,
straight up says, "They got in my head."
yeah. Well, we can thank Fremgen for that. I mean, there's a lot of the attention goes on Kaczynski, rightly so. He's a weasel, right?
Mhm.
And he did a lot of things that impact Brendan now. But Fremgen and Edelstein were just as ineffective in different ways. So you have Fremgen, you know, agreeing to not show the portion of Brendan recanting to his mother, to
Mhm.
not show that, right? And then you have Edelstein in closing, leaving with the jury the idea that yes, Brendan did see something, right? Brendan was at the fire. That's what he let the jury take away. The closing remarks. Brendan didn't stand a chance. He didn't stand a
Nope.
chance. No,
Neither of them did.
no, no. And you can go back to Kratz. You can go back to the presser. As soon as he opened his mouth, just to even say anything about Brendan was going to be prejudicial anyway. But to come out and narrate this false statement that they hadn't corroborated and couldn't possibly corroborate, um, was, he tainted a national jury pool. He ripped the presumption of innocence away from those men. Of course, they didn't stand a chance. And I think you see that, right? So you have Stephen, who's convicted, and then Brendan's jury only takes 4.5 hours to convict him.
Mhm.
That was just a process in that courtroom. You know, it wasn't a trial.
Nope.
No.
It's just a shame because they keep hiding stuff, both sides. I mean,
Mm,
only thing I see helping Brendan is movement in Steven's case,
mm.
unless somebody comes forward and says I did it.
Yeah, yeah. I do. I've had these conversations lately with a few people in regards to Governor Evers and his obvious reluctance to even consider, commutations and pardons and things like that for people who are still incarcerated. But there are so many organizations in Wisconsin, and I was so pleased to see this, that are pushing for the governor to expand his criteria. You've got the ACLU of Wisconsin who are doing that as well, and there's a lot of independent groups who are doing that. I still think he's someone that can be worked with. And I understand, this whole idea of, well, we have to get rid of Evers, right? We can't re-elect Evers. But if you look at the pool that's growing of people that are going to run against Evers, then
There's
we could
actually
be in a
a
really bad
billboard
position.
for his running mate that runs right after Brennan's
Oh, is
ad.
it? Oh, yeah, yeah. I would be worried because a lot of them are aligned with a Scott Walker mentality, a more conservative mentality, which is going to be that tough on crime mentality, which is going to be that we are not reinstating a pardons board. We are not doing, giving clemency or pardons. And then we're back again in a Walker era where it's not even a consideration for Brendan or
Well,
for anyone.
with the board being in place, do you think ever even? I mean, I'm sure with all the Twitter storms and stuff, he's got to have some. idea what's going on.
I he would be really a vague individual, like to not know what's going on. Of course, he knows what's going on. I know, last year, well, in 2019, I can't believe it's like 2 years since the clemency petition. Well, not 2 years, but we're coming up close. That at that time, somebody like Seth Waxman, for example, right? He has a really high profile.
Hmm.
He's extremely well thought of, and he landed in a helicopter near the the hotel where the presser was being held to announce the clemency petition.
Hmm.
And there was I heard this from somebody, but there was no way that Governor Evers did not know that Seth Waxman had arrived there that day and that he was involved. And Seth Waxman obviously has an extremely high reputation, particularly among, um, the more, I hate to use the word liberal, decent, um, uh, you know, um, groups and what have you. He's very well thought of, and rightly so. He's an incredible individual. So Governor Evers knew. He knew. And
Hmm.
there's no doubt he would know of Brendan Dassey. Whether he's actually reviewed the petition or not, you couldn't tell, but out of curiosity, would you not? You know what I mean? How could you not? How could
Hmm.
you not? And if you're running as an education governor, how could you not pay attention to a child who went through that in your state at the age of 16? How
Hmm.
would that not cross your radar or be
It's because
something you
people got
wanted?
the mentality, if it doesn't affect me personally, I don't care.
Mm. Which is just not good enough.
No,
It's
it's
just
not.
not good enough. And particularly if you're running for re-election like he is, and he ran the first time on, one of his platforms was criminal justice reform. And I know recently that the legislator, they poo-pooed, for want of a better word, all of his initiatives in that area. Um, I know that he tried to get some stuff across the line in terms of, people of 17 being, their trials in juvenile court and all those types of things that you'd want to see that a decent functioning society would have. But yeah, so he really hasn't done anything in that space in the
Hmm.
criminal justice except the pardons board. And as we know, the pardons board is served itself as an expungement board. So it's for people expunging records so that they can get jobs or, that it's something that's hung over them. And they have that right. Of course they do.
Hmm.
But, there's a bill that's being put through the Senate and it's an expungement bill. And this is always this. I'm keeping an eye on this and I find it of interest because it does exactly the same thing as what Governor Evers does with his pardons. So for me, then I'm like, he has to revisit his criteria, or would he not allow the bill to go through? You
Yeah.
know, yeah, be interesting to see what he does with that. I think, but yeah, if he's running for re-election, um, and he runs on that criminal justice reform platform as part of what he runs on, then he's really going to need to step it up because, things like the legalization of marijuana and all of those things that he bandied around the first time, that hasn't happened. You know,
Nope.
and I really don't want to lose him because when I look at the people that are coming up to the party, I don't think that they would do anything for Brendan Dassey or others like him.
You're right.
Yeah.
It's just like Shelley Grogan that's replacing Davis for the appeals court,
Mm,
backed by Scott Walker and everybody that has, like, Davis was backed by the other judge
mm.
and four people,
Yeah.
and Shelley Grogan had about 50 people.
Yeah.
Manitowoc County, Calumet County, backed by the
And that
sheriff's department,
that
Scott
speaks for itself,
Walker,
doesn't it?
Brad
Yeah.
Schimmel, all
Oh,
of them.
please. Yeah. Uh, Who
And
stands a chance with
and
that?
then Schimmel loses to Call, and then before Walker leaves office, he makes
Mhm.
Schimmel a judge.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like these people, they lose their positions, but they're still kept in power some way, somehow.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've heard mutterings, and you would know for sure, I suppose. Obviously you're there, but I've heard that Walker is considering another run.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah,
I just
I know.
Walker went from a Milwaukee County executive to the governor.
Yeah, he was a Republican golden boy, wasn't he?
Hmm.
And he ran on that tough on crime,
Yep,
and
which
and
is
they loved
messed
it.
up because his son was arrested with possession of marijuana
Wow. Yeah,
and
yeah,
swept right under the rug.
yeah, yeah. It's like Mandela, I guess. The lieutenant governor, he's running for the Senate to take Ron Johnson's spot, which, yes, not a bad idea.
Yeah.
you know, Depending, I suppose, on what side of the political fence you lean on. But from where I sit, that's a great idea. Um, because Evers hits so many barriers trying to get things through that legislator. You know, I mean,
Hmm.
even before he took office, they were curbing his powers. So yeah.
Yep. Uh, it's just strange that Call is the attorney general and his connection. His mom was Peg.
Mm, mm.
Like either,
Do you,
even if Shimon would have won, yeah, I see no difference.
yeah. Do you
Thankfully,
think?
when Walker won against Evers, he had signed a bill from the last election that if the vote was in between below like 2%, if you wanted to challenge it, you had to pay for it out your own pocket.
Yeah, that's right. I
So he
remember
screwed
that.
himself
Yes. Yeah,
because he
that's
lost
right.
by a
You
small
brought that in.
margin.
Yeah. 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 Do you think, with Carl being the attorney general, that there is a hangover from the days of his mother? Have you seen that in decisions and initiatives that he's brought forward in Wisconsin?
I don't know, really, but I assume he's going to protect his mother's name the best he can.
You would, wouldn't you? Yeah. Yeah.
Naturally, you would want to with your mother, but
Mm,
ethically,
yeah.
no.
Yeah. Well, that's a different question, isn't it? The moral and ethical questions of people's behavior, and
Yeah.
then the political um, behavior that they partake in. But yeah, I even heard that Josh Carl was considering a run for governor. It's just, I think your race in 2022 is going to be really interesting. I think it's going to be
Yeah,
really
I
interesting.
agree.
Yeah.
But the Milwaukee County executive is actually my best friend's brother.
Mhm.
So he's a good guy.
Yeah.
I still can't believe he beat Chris Abley. He was the former. I just don't understand these politicians. Where do they get all this damn money from? I mean, Brad,
It's
uh, the guy that took Walker's position,
mm,
he bought one of the biggest houses on the lakefront down here and demolished it and rebuilt a brand new house.
yeah. And there's a lot of money. There's a lot of money. I mean, is it not that, um,
I think
places on the
politicians should get
Senate?
paid minimum wage.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, they're working for us, but they're
That's true.
all well off better than the
Yeah.
average American.
Yeah. But they're not really working for you, are they?
No, they're
You know?
working for themselves.
No, that's exactly right. And there's a lot of, like, um, dark money, particularly in Wisconsin. There's such a history of dark money behind politics, particularly
Hmm.
Walker. Particularly Walker, a lot of dark money, and um, there's no doubt that judgeships and places in the political arena are bought and sold. You know, of course they are. It's money. It's not necessarily the people. I think that's what was interesting with Evers' win, was, I think that was the people. I think that was the people. Um, you know, there was a lot of us on Twitter. I remember the day of the election, just tweeting like mad because we needed someone besides Walker for for Brendan.
Yeah,
And unfortunately, Eva's hasn't moved. Like, to not even review the petition is a bit of an insult to the incredible people who have put that petition together and all of the names behind it, to not even, review it.
it's a shame, but like I said, there's the board in place, so it
Yeah.
probably never even got to him.
But the board is only to recommend to Evers, right? So they're only making recommendations to him. He has the executive power. You know this. He has the executive power, so he can at any time decide to commute Brendan Dassey's sentence. He doesn't need the pardons board's approval to do that. He doesn't need to cross the aisle to do that. He doesn't need the legislator. That is his power alone. So he could possibly do it tomorrow, you know.
That'd be amazing, but
To not even acknowledge it though. To not even acknowledge it. You know,
hmm
I I've spoken with many people about this as well, the idea of political timidity, right? So that they're um particularly Democratic governors after Dukakis. I won't go into it because it's a long spiel and I'll have
yeah,
you here all night, but that they're shy of it. But then you see some governors like with Centoya Brown, granting her mercy. There's been
hmm
some incredible decisions made by governors with commutations and things like that. But Wisconsin just always seems to fail in that space. Anything to do with criminal justice reform.
Well, they did something right in the. Are you aware of the Slender Man case?
Yes, yes, and yes, I know where you're going. Yeah.
They they are going to release the Geiger girl, but she's got
Yes.
to spend a year in a mental hospital, and then
Mm,
she's gonna get out.
yeah. And I fully support that. Those kids were 14, 13, 14. Um, Yeah, Anita, was it? Anita,
hmm
I think her name is.
Yep.
Um, I mean, you had a judge make a decision there that was actually decent and, was speaking to the humanity of the situation and acknowledging the fact that they were children. Yeah, so that I thought that was something great to come out of Wisconsin, but it's a rarity, you
Yeah,
know. Yeah,
that's for sure.
yeah.
But good things do happen sometimes.
Well, I totally believe that, Millbilly, and that's why the idea behind these campaigns is I sit there and I go, it's time to make noise in Wisconsin. It's time to make noise for Brendan Dassey, right? We've had a year and a half since the clemency petition, and supporters are vocal and they're passionate and they're engaged. And I put the ideas out there, and I can come up with anything, but unless the supporters and the people that, this is driven by a lot of love for Brendan, and a lot of generosity because of people's belief in his innocence, that this is even possible.
I can speak
So
for like many people.
mm,
This case has changed my life
yeah,
forever.
yeah. Oh, I can't even begin to tell you what it's done to mine. Um, but I am very grateful for it. I'm saddened by the reason I'm involved, but I'm grateful to be involved
Gives you some
because
purpose.
yeah, yeah, and also I think it's really important in our lives that we're selfless and that we're kind, right? And that we help people that can't help themselves.
hmm
And the idea of Brendan for 10 years being left, being forgotten, um, that was too much for me. And I think that was pretty much probably the gut punch for millions of other people. And many of the people that, are supporting all the campaign initiatives is that it's just wrong. And if I'm free and there's something I can do, then let's just do it. Why would we
Well,
not do it? you know?
I watched this all play out in real time, 2005 and 2006.
Yeah,
I just had my kid January 1st, 2006, so
yeah,
it was on the news every day.
yeah,
She was in her, I mean, she was a little baby, sleeping all the
mm,
time, basically. So
yeah,
all I had to do was just watch TV, and
mm,
you couldn't get away from it.
yeah,
It's all over the papers, all over the news,
mm.
and
Was it
my
was it
my
negative,
father,
Billy?
right when it came up, he was like, "Oh, they're framing him," because
Yeah,
my dad, I don't know, I'm pretty sure my dad's probably crossed paths with somebody in that family, because
yeah,
my dad's friends live in Two Rivers.
right.
So, but I was listening to him like, okay, and then the March 1st shit happened. Then I had the idea, well, shit, nobody's gonna confess to
Yeah,
something they didn't do. Like
mm,
he's got to be guilty now.
mm, mm,
And that's how mostly Wisconsin
yeah.
works. Like
And when did you start thinking that Brendan Brendan's, statement was false? Was it
when I
making a
watched the
murderer?
interrogation,
Okay. Yeah. So up until that point, probably like most people in Wisconsin and, you know, in a lot of places, I guess, we've heard it many times. Why would somebody confess? But people do, and they do. It's not just vulnerable kids that confess, and the really sad part about it is that a confession isn't subjected to the same as every other piece of evidence in a court of law. They don't look for reliability of
mm,
a confession, and it's one of the most prejudicial things in a case. It's like the gold standard, a false confession. People can't go past it, you
well,
know.
I can account when I was a teenager. A few of my friends, we were sitting on a bus stop waiting for the bus to come. All of a sudden, the cops pulled up,
Mm,
started talking to us, asking if we were involved in something that happened. We are like, no. They took one of my friends into the car.
mm,
One of the cops stood by us. The other cop got in the car with them. And then the cop got out the car. He was like, "Oh, your buddy just told us everything." Like, told you what? We didn't do
yeah,
anything. He was
yeah,
just trying to lie to us.
yeah.
Now I'm sure
It's
he would have came back and said the same thing to him.
yeah, yeah,
But we
and
held our ground
yeah,
and let us go.
yeah. It's um, it's frightening, but I think we see in Illinois and Oregon some great changes happening with the use of deception with juveniles and interrogations. I watched that and I'm like, where are the people ready to sponsor a bill like that in Wisconsin? You know, where
Well,
are
my
they?
dad
How
always
how
had
do we
two
make that
rules growing
happen?
up: don't lie to him, and don't ever bring
Mm,
the cops to the house.
yeah,
And he always
yeah,
told me, don't talk to the police ever, unless you're
yeah,
going to them.
yes,
That's
yeah,
what I told my daughter. I said,
yeah,
don't ever talk to the cops unless
yeah,
you're going to the cops for help.
yeah.
If they
That's
talk to
so
you,
wrong.
2 words: I need a
Yeah,
lawyer.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think it's 500,000 police officers and members of law enforcement in the United States have gone through Reed training, and that's frightening. You know,
Well, the fact that Jerry Buting trained Uyghur,
in Reed,
he trained him how to interrogate juveniles.
really,
Yes,
I didn't know that.
not Uyghur, Fassbender.
Right, but still, like, they're interchangeable. In my surprise, to be honest.
And it's
Wow.
crazy. I just don't understand why they went after Steven's alibi last.
Yeah, yeah. That interests me greatly because, they went to Brendan in November as they were going to Brian, as they were going to Blaine, as they were going to Bobby, as they were going to everybody.
Hmm.
They didn't come back to him until February the 27th, and they didn't come back to him until after Kayla had gone to the school counselor.
And after Marie didn't cooperate to bring
Hmm.
something else to charge Steven with,
Yeah.
And Jody didn't cooperate.
Yes. Yeah.
And she's about to get released.
Yeah.
So they went after the weakest link.
Yeah. And they would have known, like you listened to the Crivets interview with Brendan, they knew then that they could manipulate that child into coming around to
Oh,
their
for sure.
narrative.
As soon
Because
as he comes back and says
yes.
the bus driver,
Yep, the 20-minute mark. Yep.
changes his story right away.
Yeah.
But
And
at the end of the interview, he sticks to his guns and he
mm,
says, "I seen her leave."
yeah, yeah. Poor kid. Just, just poor kid. Like it's horrific what they did to him.
You can definitely tell Brennan was taking bits and pieces of different situations, different dates, and throwing them into one.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
his Two Rivers Police Department interview, Mark Wieger asked him one question: "How did you get home from school?"
Yeah.
And he gives him a whole story.
Yeah.
It's fed 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course, because the thing for me, right, there's some really simple things that Brendan said that are true. Like, they're true, right? So Brendan gets off the bus with his brother. He's with Blaine.
Mm-hmm.
Why, why hasn't anyone gone to Blaine to confirm, that they didn't see Teresa Halbach? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, there's really simple things that could be done to um, support Brendan's version of the truth. And you know what that truth is because it's something that's easy for him, right? So
Mm-hmm.
in all of the interrogations, in the first 5 interrogations up until the 1st of March, Brendan's been fed that narrative. It's embedded in him, right? He gets it wrong in certain places, but they lead him back. They worked really, really hard to get Brendan to give that statement. So when they get to him on the 13th of May, the reason it's such a mess is because they haven't been able to get to him and keep feeding him that narrative over those few months. So in that time, Brendan's totally forgotten what they fed to him. And that's
Mm-hmm.
why that particular interrogation is such a mess. And of course, they wouldn't use it because he couldn't remember what they had fed to him.
Hey, Mark.
Mr. Hoddenot.
Hello, I'm sorry, I'm a late joiner.
All good.
I was
All good.
my daughter's birthday, so via Zoom, of all things. So, yeah.
Zoom cake.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it was. So, are we in a live chat? Are we?
Yep.
Oh,
I don't know where you are actually.
I'm glad I got my clothes on. I normally come, a little bit more a la natural. So, so, yeah, I'm up in the clouds, as you can tell. So.
Yeah, you've done a BASOS or something.
Yeah, I booked a ticket on Richard's Virgin Galactic and jumped off halfway. So,
Yeah.
yeah, how are we going anyway?
Good.
We're
Yeah.
righting the wrongs of the world here, Mark.
Yeah.
I'll have you know.
Trying to.
Why not? Yeah, if they're there to be righted, let's do it.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah. You're looking very slick tonight, Mr. Millbilly.
I said that to
Doesn't
him.
you look good? You look very healthy too. Very healthy. You must be doing something to look after yourself. So, yeah.
This golf.
Yeah. Right. You must be a patient man with golf. So, yeah. Well, next time I come to Wisconsin, I'll have a game of golf with you.
For sure.
So, yeah. So that'll be fun.
They lift that lockdown.
Oh yeah, God.
We're never getting out of Australia, Mark. You just got to suck that stuff up.
I think that my next visit will be the aged care facility. So, yeah, and then I won't have any memory of anything else, so I'll be in bliss then. So,
that's all right. I'll push you around and whisper in your ear. Okay.
Thank you. Remember?
The whole pandemic thing.
Crazy,
I don't know
isn't
what to believe or what not to believe. I know people that got sick. I had it myself. I don't know.
Number one rule: get vaccinated. Right? Don't do that. That's the problem. Got to get vaccinated. It doesn't stop you catching it, but you won't get sick.
That's
as
the
it
thing,
seems.
though. People are getting vaccinated and they're still getting COVID again.
Yeah, but they're not getting hospitalized. That's the thing.
Well, it seemed like the majority of the people that were affected the worst were older.
Yeah, they'll be unvaccinated people though. So the stats will show you that about 90 or 95% of the admissions are from people who are not vaccinated. So that's have your beliefs, I'm not saying us here, but have your beliefs about vaccination or not. You need to be vaccinated for yourself and for the general population.
The other thing that bothers me is we had all these nurses working through the whole pandemic, no vaccine whatsoever, and now they're refusing to get the vaccine, and now they're all being fired.
I think that's fair enough. I'm gonna go out there and say it. I think if you are in a position of caring for other people's health, and you're in a position that you could potentially put that person's health in jeopardy, then perhaps you need to find a different avenue for work. I think it's a no-brainer.
Plus, the employer is at risk. If they're knowingly putting people in the workplace that could cause harm to the patients, albeit unintended, well then it's a risk position for them. So,
yeah. You're talking Dr. Death type of stuff.
Exactly.
I'm just glad they opened the prisons back up here.
Yeah. Oh goodness, yeah.
They do have a very structured way now for visiting, where they have you can only visit for 90 minutes. It's only a set number of appointments per time slot. And there's a few other less communicable behaviors that you're not allowed to do. You can give people a hug. You can't kiss them.
You gotta be social distance still.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of stuff there.
I'm sure before they let everybody into the visiting room, but now it's probably so many people at a time.
Yeah,
that's exactly what it is. And you have to pre-book. The process of booking is not too difficult, but you have to pre-book them, so they just can't turn up on the day and say, even if you're an authorized visitor, you just can't turn up on the day and you won't be allowed in. So,
yeah. The vaccination debate is, I'd say, there's certain parts of society that are having the same sort of debate. Do I believe in the pandemic? Do I do this? Do you know what I say? If you don't believe, that's fine. But just for a minute, if you could potentially put people you love at risk, just do it for them then. Just do it for them. That's kind of my take on it. But personally, I think there's a raging viral disease, and how easily we've fallen.
And also a lot of the case, I shouldn't say a lot, but a larger number now of younger people are getting the Delta strain that previously wouldn't have got it because they were young.
In Sydney,
and also young in terms of children as well, teenagers of that age as well. So it's a new obligation, and a higher level obligation now to get vaccinated and to protect the ones around you who you care about, which should be pretty much everyone.
The Milwaukee Bucks just won the NBA championship, and outside of the arena there was 100,000 people there.
Yeah. They're going to introduce, they've already announced it in Australia, Millbilly, with the major sporting events. They're going to start introducing, by the time we get to another couple of months down the track, you must be vaccinated before you'll be allowed to enter the arenas, fully vaccinated. So it's just going to be a choice then. If you don't want to be vaccinated, fair enough, but you're going to be excluded from environments where you're at risk and risk to others. So it's a choice. So
they're doing it in Ireland as well, because obviously a lot of my family are over there and my daughter, and you need a vaccination passport to travel through Europe. And if you don't have that, then you have to get a PCR test before you leave and a PCR test before you come back. So, but
it's pretty much back to normal here. I haven't had to wear a mask in it was June 1st.
Wow.
They stopped the mask mandate.
I wear a mask everywhere I go outside my house. I
hated it. I wear that motherfucker every day for a year.
Is that a brand? Got a brand of mask? The EMF mask?
It should be. I
I
don't
love it.
mind wearing it. It covers a multitude of sins, so I'm absolutely
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, some people they should wear it all the time just because it's a better look. So
That's harsh.
the trouble I don't, there's two reasons I don't like wearing masks, but they don't override the importance of having it at the moment, especially one is
Yeah.
that I'm not very disciplined about how I fit it. So my glasses fog up, right? That's one
Oh,
thing.
yeah. Yeah.
And then I go, God, I'm sick of smelling my own breath. I think, oh my God. They're the two reasons that I think, oh, take that thing off. I need some oxygen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the one thing. Do they make the prisoners wear masks?
When they're visiting, they do, but not in prison. So,
I think
as far
Brendan
as I'm
was
aware,
wearing a mask for a good while, though. They all had masks.
Were they given to them, or did they have to pay for them?
I
I
know
don't know
that
the answer to that. But
yeah, I'm
Do
not
they take it
100%
out of the
sure.
canteen? Or I mean,
Mhm.
I think pretty much any prisoner would have either had COVID or been exposed to it already. They've all been vaccinated. So the risk issue is more with the outside prison guards and things. So that's
And I
where
mean,
it all
that's
comes
obviously
from.
what it was at the start as well.
Yeah.
That's how it got into the prisons.
Yes.
It was, obviously through guards and
Exactly.
workers.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So I think it's pretty safe in there now. But they do have to wear a mask during visitations. So.
so what are all the locations that these billboards are going to be at? I know there's one here in Milwaukee, but Green Bay.
Yes. Well, let me open my spreadsheet.
Mark's great with a spreadsheet.
Oh God. You got to love a good spreadsheet, right? So there's the one in Milwaukee on that, the one you took the photo of. It's double-sided, as you know, so that counts for two. It's where the Highway 41, 43, and 894 are all the one highway at
South
that point.
84th Plaza billboard.
Yeah. We have another one in a town or region called just north of Green Bay called Suamico. Is that how you pronounce it? Suamico.
Mm-hmm.
It's on Highway 41 as well. It's facing, if people coming south will see it on the right-hand side. Yes, the Northwoods area up there is very popular for holiday makers, and also commuters come down that area to Green Bay. So that's going to be a successful one. There's one on Highway 172, which is the highway that runs from Green Bay Airport west-east or east-west that goes across up 41 and joins 43 and the road north up to Sturgeon Bay. Is that the way up that way?
Yep.
There's a big one there, right? They're a really big one. We've used that before. There's another one there's a few on Highway 41 at West De Pere. Is that how you pronounce it? De Pere?
De Pere, yep.
Yep.
That's north of Oshkosh.
Yep. There's one at Neenah, a double-sided one.
That's
we've got a bunch
too.
Yep. Sorry, my son was yelling out to me. So sorry, he doesn't realize I'm online here. And then we have a few down in the Madison area, but we're waiting on some formal approvals for those.
Are they all digital boards or?
Yeah, all digital boards. Yeah, so we can turn them on and off at a flick of a button. And also we have a digital board because it's one that I've had running for Stephen in Manitowoc. We have two boards in Manitowoc. One's fixed, so I can't change that, but the digital one we changed, and so that's on Washington Street, or formerly Highway 151, about 2 or 3 minutes drive from the courthouse. It's a digital board sitting on the highway, on the main road there that comes into Manitowoc Old Town. So that'll be up and running. Well, it's already running, but it'll have the change image on it after tomorrow. So yeah,
it's fantastic. I particularly love that one in Manitowoc.
Yeah,
on that road.
I just have my camera with me. My phone doesn't take very good photos.
That photo you did take was very good, actually.
Yeah.
So
it's because I used my professional camera.
Oh, I see. Right, yeah.
The definition of the image is so perfect. It's so perfect.
you
It
realize how big that sign is. It's massive when you
Mm.
look at that
Yeah,
picture.
the one picture I showed of the whole billboard, that was taken with my
massive.
phone.
Yeah, right.
The other one was
Yeah.
with my digital
Yeah.
camera.
Yeah.
And we'll be looking for other locations because we're using a particular company for this, and we might even, when in discussion with Tracy, we may well even venture a little further south of Milwaukee towards the Illinois border to
Do
see
you
whether
know,
there's
I
some
was
signs down
thinking
there
that.
that might be
Yeah.
worth
Yeah.
tapping into.
Yeah.
But it's quite easy to do, so
Yeah.
we'll see. It'll be a very fluid thing anyway.
Yeah. It's exciting, and the great thing about it is that you can see from, you know, the supporters and people who are behind Brendan and Stephen, the reception that the boards are receiving already is fantastic. You know, it's a tangible presence of everybody's support for Brendan in this case. You know, so yeah, I love to
mean, the
see it.
message is not only symbolic, but it's real, right?
Yeah.
There is a missing child.
Yeah.
He got stolen or taken away back in 2006.
Yeah.
Right.
He was taken from his home, right? Like,
Another good thing about that location of that billboard, not only can you see it on the freeway, but the side street Layton, you can see it clear as day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And the construction, like I went there probably like it was about 11:30, 12, maybe noon, close to noon, and I had to get off the freeway because there was so much traffic with all the construction going on. So people are going to see it.
Yeah.
That's exciting. I want people to see it, and I want people to pause when they see that. You know, I think if you see the words missing child, you automatically do, and that is the reason why they're there. And the idea of, you know, last seen waiting on clemency, we're taking the truth to Wisconsin. You know, this is a child that went missing. It could be your child. You know, it could be your niece, your nephew. You know, like Brendan.
It is really frightening when you think about what happened to Brendan. It is really frightening.
Yeah.
Especially, you know, how vulnerable he was as an individual and how they preyed on that vulnerability. You know,
the whole thing, him going and getting, yeah, it just pisses me off. He should have been released.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
Brad Schimmel and I wonder how much he got paid to do what he did. They all got paid to do what they did.
At that time, Millbilly, somebody that I've interviewed, and they had a great insight into the Department of Justice. And they said that at that time, that the majority of people in the DOJ were like, let's leave this. Let Brendan go. Let's leave it. But Schimmel and a couple of others were like, no, we're pursuing it. The majority of people were like, this, enough is enough. You know, it would be interesting to know who those people were, but you don't get that information.
No.
But that in itself is you go to your 4-3 en banc majority. The narrow misses all the way through for Brendan Dassey is just horrendous for him.
It pissed me off that we got Officer of the Year for his investigation of the Hallbach case.
But it's like, who judges that? It's a mutual admiration society, right? So I don't take anything in those awards are ridiculous. You know, Officer of the Year, seriously.
Well,
embarrassing.
He boasted about it when he was rerunning for
sheriff.
Yeah. I don't get it. I don't understand how, you know, any of them involved in what happened to Brendan, that not one of them has been vocal and come out and say, look, you know what, in hindsight, looking back on that, yeah, maybe we did do something wrong, right? And just have the balls to own up to something that you know is obvious to 99% of you know, sentient beings on Earth. Like, just come out and say it.
But if the Teresa Hallbach matter was simply a case against Brendan Dassey and not Stephen Avery as well, then one, they wouldn't have pursued him. That's the first thing. But even if they hadn't achieved what they did achieve, he would be out.
Yeah.
But it's the linkage back to Stephen that keeps them fighting Brendan, because they know if Brendan's case falls over for whatever reason, that it weakens their arrangement with Stephen, or what's happened to Stephen, because it's allegedly a crime that happened together, notwithstanding the scenarios were different.
Yeah.
So that's where their preparedness to keep doing this is based upon the connection to Stephen, not on the merits or otherwise of Brendan's case.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And there's zero accountability for any of the actions by any of the state actors, you know, from the press conference through to the behavior of Uyghur and Fassbender with Brendan. Just zero accountability across the board,
No,
you know. But
therein lies
I
that
just
big
have
issue.
to say, I can't get out of my head that Jerry Booting trained Fassbender in the Reed technique.
Yeah.
It's the first time I've heard it. Yeah.
But the Reed technique should only be delivered in a framework of ethics, right? They should never have been applied to Brendan. He should have always had a representative advocate looking after him, whether it was a lawyer or an independent advocate who knew something. So Reed technique is one thing, but what they did, they applied it in an unethical way.
Yeah.
And that's what the problem is.
Well,
Every
Johnny
time he
Reed
was
himself
interviewed,
said
nobody
that.
was there for him.
Never.
I mean,
Never.
in November, Brian, that was his adult.
Yeah.
When they were pulled over.
And they separated them.
Yeah.
They each time, I mean, it's part of Reed. They isolate whoever it is that they're investigating. And the thing is, as soon as they've made a guilt presumptive decision, as soon as they launch into the Reed interrogation technique. So when they're in Crivets and they get to that 20-minute mark, when he comes back into the car, he launches into the interrogation technique, right? So there's the theme, there's the minimization, you've got it all happening. So from that point on, they've made a conscious decision that Brendan Dassey has something to do with the disappearance of Teresa Halbach, because underpinning the usage of the Reed technique is that they have made a behavioral analysis of the interviewee and has decided that they are guilty, and that's the only reason they go into the interrogation part of it. So from that 20-minute mark, they were gunning for Brendan Dassey after 20 minutes of this child being in the back of that car.
Yeah,
I'm very confident there's more information going to come out surrounding the events of the 31st of October. The actual timeline of what happened that day, there's still some more to be revealed about that.
Well, I'm on the impression that everybody that did testify in Stephen's trial are all recalling a different day.
Yeah.
The bus driver.
Yeah.
There was no way in hell she seen what she saw on the 31st.
No, and even you can't see that distance down to Stephen's trailer down there anyway. It's just too far and undulating, and so she's obviously got something wrong in her mind there. So that's just an error that no one realised at the time. So,
well, we make false memories, don't we?
Or how about the officer that towed Stephen's Grand Am is related to the lady that works at Auto Trader, to his girlfriend.
Yeah, right.
That just mind-boggling, the connections that. It's just...
It'll come out. I'm confident it'll come out.
I like your confidence, Mark.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to hold you to that level of confidence.
Please do. Please do.
Comes out.
It'll come out.
It has to come out.
Yeah.
It has to come out.
You can try. By and large, to this date, the process has been more structured and formal, and sort of go by the book, so to speak. Not that it won't still go by the book, but there'll be a lot more digging and a lot more revelations, a lot more incentive for people to come and talk. That's what's going to happen. So I'm confident that we'll get there. It's just a shame that these boys are
Yeah.
are spending too much of their lives, even a day of their lives, locked up. It's just,
Yeah.
disgraceful.
Every day is dangerous for them.
Exactly.
You know,
So,
it's like we go about our business and we do what we can do, but every single day we can't possibly imagine what every day involves for them.
yes.
You know, and I think
Exactly.
about the levels of loneliness, the levels of disconnection, and all those types of things. It's incredibly sad and
Yep.
unjust. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Tragedy. Well, I want to thank you both for coming on, talking about this.
Can I just say I'm a latecomer to this particular discussion today. To you, Tracy, to you and all your direct, fabulous financial supporters of your campaign. It's just so inspiring to see that going on, and it does take someone to coordinate that. And that no way in the world would any of this be happening if not for you. But to you and to all those wonderful people, especially. There are a lot of women associated with this. I think they identify with Brendan as their own child. And I'm really grateful for what you're doing. So,
thank you. And likewise. Yeah.
Yeah.
And likewise, Mark, you are my partner in crime. No pun intended.
Good crime.
But, yes. Good trouble. The best of trouble. The best of trouble. The best of trouble. So
with my spreadsheet.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot about billboards over the last couple of years. I tell you that. So, they have mastermind special topic billboards, Wisconsin. Right, that's mine. Right.
Mine's Photoshop. When Mark is saying, "I need an 8:30 by 1:04."
Yeah.
Okay, Mark, give me a sec. It's just
Yeah.
Sure, I wouldn't have it any other way. The only other way we'd have it is the boys being free. That's it.
Yeah.
Well, I wish both of you guys a great evening.
You too, Millbilly.
Thanks very much, Millbilly. And
thank
you for all your work, and we'll talk again soon.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, have a great day.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Okay. Bye now.
Bye.
Bye-bye.